Okay, it is just about to tick over to 10 a.m., so we will make a start. So welcome everyone to our Taking Toy Safety Seriously webinar this morning. My name is Olivia and I'm one of our project officers here at Kidsafe WA. So thank you, whether you're listening live or listening to our recording later on. We really appreciate you tuning in today. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin. Our webinar will run for approximately 45 minutes this morning. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them into our Q&A section and we can answer those together at the end. So just a quick overview of the session today. We will talk through some common injuries that we are seeing, and then we will get through to some toy safety, some topical toys, so toys that have been sort of popping up recently, also talking about secondhand toys, and just a bit about toy storage as well. I would firstly like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land that we are meeting on today. We are recording from the Kidsafe WA office in West Leederville, which is the land of the Whadjuk Noongar people. I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging across WA and also from where you are tuning in from this morning. So who are we? For those of you where this may be your first interaction with Kidsafe WA, so we are the leading not-for-profit organisation. We are funded by the Department of Health and we are dedicated to promoting safety and preventing childhood injuries and accidents in WA. And we do this through education, so webinars like this, advocacy, and we do quite a bit of research as well. And again, why do we exist? So unfortunately, we do know that injuries are the leading cause of death amongst Australian children. And we know that more children die from injury than from cancer, asthma, infectious diseases combined. And when we are talking about children in this context, we are referring to children sort of from birth through to those teenage years as well, which is obviously quite significant. We do know, again, over 24 West Australian children die each year from preventable injuries, while we do see a further 8,000 hospitalised. So good news is a lot of the injuries we do see are preventable. So it is just little things we can be changing, perhaps at home or even if we're in a childcare centre, just those little things that we can change to make that space nice and safe. Probably no surprise to a lot of you tuning in today, but the most common space we are seeing injuries happen is at home. So we do know kids spend quite a lot of time in those spaces. And also as kids start going to school, start participating in group sports, those sorts of things, there is quite high levels of injuries there as well. So looking at our top 5 injury causes, so as I said earlier, it is sort of looking from birth to those sort of teen years. But the most common injury we do see is falls. So for older children or sort of, those toddler years, this could include when they're learning to ride scooters and bikes, and it may include a fall. Or, off that skateboard, off that bike, and can potentially result in a broken bone, a strain, a sprain, or it could even be quite a serious head injury. Also in falls, we see, kids climbing trees, those sorts of things. So unfortunately, this is quite a common injury. This is then followed by mechanical forces, which does include blunt force, cutting and piercing. And a classic example of this may be for older children when they are participating in those group sports. They may collide with a teammate, which again can result in a concussion or quite a serious head injury. And for younger children at home, that may be running into the side of furniture. So again, those quite serious injuries. The third most common injury we are seeing is related to transport. So looking at child car restraints for children who are still in those seats, just making sure they are secured correctly. And again, as I spoke about earlier, it is those bikes, scooters, skateboards, really just making sure children are using the appropriate helmets and safety sort of protection as well. And then the last two injuries we have here is poisoning and burns and scalds. So when talking through those injuries, you've probably sort of seen a common theme that a lot of them do include a mechanism. So when we're talking about a mechanism, it could be those toys, those bikes, those sorts of things. So we will chat about this further today, but again, just sort of gives a snapshot of what we are sort of focusing on. Now, as we are coming up into the holiday period, we do know that injuries can and do happen to children all throughout the year, but particularly as we are heading into this season, we know it is a really busy time for families, especially those with young children. So there are a whole number of factors that can influence injuries during this period. School holidays, kids are spending more time at home, playing outdoors. And it is that change in routine, both for children and for adults, which can lead to sort of that lapse in concentration and sort of that lapse in supervision. On top of that as well, a lot of families are traveling. We're probably traveling a lot more than we normally would. And we're often, driving to places where we may be unfamiliar on the road. And during this period in general, we just do have more cars on the road. So that can sort of increase those injuries as well. So now we are getting into toy safety, what we are here to chat about today. So when we are talking about toys today, I really want to emphasize that this doesn't mean you have to go home, or if you are in a childcare centre, it doesn't mean you have to go and get rid of every single toy you have. More so, the sort of emphasis of today's webinar is just to think mindfully when you are purchasing new products. And also, again, just sort of looking at ones you have in the home, potentially identifying ones that maybe are not the safest, and just sort of different things you can do to change up that environment. So in Australia, there is a range of toys that are sold on the market. A lot of toys will come with an age recommendation to sort of guide you on what toy is most appropriate for each age. And this is quite important when looking for toys for children under 3 years of age. So any toy that is designed or manufactured for children under that age of 3 does have to comply with a certain mandatory standard, which is just there to ensure that no small parts can break off easily, and it just sort of prevents that choking hazard. So just being really aware when you are buying toys online or in person, that some of those cheaper novelty toys may not actually meet that standard and may not be as safe as ones that are meeting that standard. So definitely something to look out for if you are purchasing toys for that sort of under 3 age group. Being aware also, I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with the ACCC. So they are the Australian Consumer Competition Commission, and they do quite a lot of work within that product safety space. And they do post recalls quite often. So before you go out and purchase any products, you can have a little look on their website, and they will identify any sort of products at risk and products that they have recalled. Also, we will talk about this later as well, but just those button batteries and small magnets, obviously that can be quite a risk for young children as well. So making sure if we do have those toys, we are identifying the magnets and the batteries and making sure they are nice and secure. And also being mindful if you do have children of differing ages in your home or in your centre, making sure that children are using the toys that are age appropriate for them. For example, some toys aimed at older children may have those small parts that could be a choking risk to younger children. So really just making sure those toys are appropriate for each age group as well. So the QR code on the screen here does link to that ACCC website, and it links to the toy safety guide. So you can go on this website, and as I said, it will identify certain safety features to look out for when purchasing those products. As I said, there are certain mandatory standards involved with certain products. In particular, I did mention the standard for children under 3 years. So definitely looking for those stickers. And the sticker will look somewhat like you see on the screen, so sort of that red sort of sticker, and that will identify if that product does meet those standards. And really important to just making sure we're not assuming that every toy sold is safe or has been checked correctly. So still making sure, even if it doesn't meet a standard, that there are those safety sort of stickers available, and you are identifying those to make sure that the product is nice and safe. If you have young children, again, on the ACCC website, there is a Keep Babies Safe section. So this includes a whole range of products focused for that young group. So including car seats, cots, toys, and all sorts of things. So if you are looking after or you do have young children, can be a really helpful website to look at. And as I said, just looking for those safety stickers. Again, if you do find or come across a product that is you do deem unsafe, you can report the unsafe product on that website as well, and they can sort of walk through those steps to ensure that that product is nice and safe. So button batteries, that is something that we did speak about earlier. I will note that the video on the screen is not specifically showing a button battery, but it is important to emphasize that any toy or any any product, focused on children that does have a battery should be secured at the back. So whether it is a button battery or those AA, AAAs, it is important to make sure that back is nice and secure. Again, there are certain standards that products with button batteries do have to meet. So again, that QR code on the screen will link to more information there. Really important though, from June 2022 onwards, there were button battery standards that businesses must now comply with. So making sure that packaging is nice and secure, there are warning labels and that sort of thing. So in these products, definitely making sure you are looking out for those warning labels. Also, what we have seen is some companies now are, with that safer packaging, have created button batteries that if a child were to put them in their mouth, there's sort of a blue dye that can come out to indicate that they have put a battery in their mouth. And some do come with a bit of coating as well, which can be great and really protective for parents. Important to note as well here, though, that those products are fairly new to the market. So if you do have older button batteries in your home, they may not have those features yet as well. So just being mindful of that, but definitely something to look out for. As I said, making sure that battery compartment is nice and secure. If it is something or a product that you are particularly concerned about, I would just sort of, pop it away until your child is a little bit older. Making sure we are disposing of any batteries correctly. So a lot of places, Woolworths, Officeworks these days do have those bins where you can dispose of products correctly. And as we are moving into Christmas and sort of that holiday period, as I sort of said, a lot of products, even those light up hats, light up costumes, may not have batteries secured correctly. So that can be something to sort of focus on and have a look at as well. And there is something called the poisons information line. So if you do suspect your child has swallowed a battery, you can call the number on the screen. They are super lovely and really are there just to help families. So please don't feel afraid to call this number. And they are just a wealth of information, so they can help you walk through those necessary steps as well. There we go. So now talking about small wheel devices. Again, a very common toy and a very common product as we are moving into that Christmas period. And as I said earlier, there are quite a lot of injuries associated with these products. So really important we are sort of using them correctly as well. So to reduce the injuries on these devices, it is recommended to choose products that are best suited to the child's age and size. So again, just knowing your child's abilities, whether they may need training wheels or perhaps just starting off with a smaller balance bike can sort of be a great introduction for young children using those products. This may seem like common sense as well, but really just making sure if you are gifting these products to make sure you are gifting those helmets, those knee pads, elbow pads, sort of that safety equipment as well. Because we do know a lot of those injuries we do see is when children fall off and they do sort of land on those body parts. So those hands, wrists, heads. So it is important we do sort of have that protective gear. And also just setting aside a time, sorry, got mumbled on my words, setting time aside, again, if you are gifting those products, to making sure you're sort of walking your child and sort of guiding your child and teaching them how to use these products correctly. And as we spoke about, just that supervision is really important. So if we do have more cars on the roads, we do want to make sure little one is nice and safe, and we're sort of there supervising them appropriately as well. So for older children, motorized scooters and e-devices are becoming more and more popular. And I did want to touch on this today because I think it is important that parents know the difference between a motorized scooter and an e-rideable. So as you can see the image on the screen, there is a clear difference. A lot of that comes down to the age, so the correct age when children can be using those devices, and sort of that speed limit and power as well. So a lot of times people are unaware of this information. Again, the QR code on the screen does link to the Road Safety Commission website, where they do go into further detail about these devices. But very important, parents do know the difference between both of them as well. Again, so for motorized scooters, so these are the products for children under 16 years of age. It is important that there is one person on the device, helmets are required, and as you can see, the most important thing is that speed and output. Again, as I said, really, I would recommend asking questions, whether you are in store or online, really asking those retailers to make sure those products are appropriate for the child. And there are a few things to look out for when purchasing. So really important is the size and weight. So making sure that the device you're considering is no more than 125 centimeters long, 70 centimeters wide and 135 centimeters high, and does not weigh more than 25 kilos. So again, this information is available on that Road Safety Commission website. Power and speed as well. So really just checking the device's capabilities. And as I said, making sure it is sort of appropriate. And even just the design. So having a little look, making sure there are no sharp edges on the device, and just making sure overall that it is comfortable for the person to use. Again, may sound quite obvious, but just making sure there are those lights, those bells, making sure whoever is using the product can be easily seen if it is sort of early in the morning or sort of late in the afternoon as well. And again, helmets. Really, really important, making sure there is one that complies with the correct standards as well. As I said, most helmets will have that little red sticker that will guide you that it is meeting those mandatory standards. And just making sure the products are good quality, and children do learn to ride in a place where they can build up that confidence. We sort of don't want them to be learning, out on a main sort of exposed area where there is that risk of injury as well. And again, this last picture I have on here, again, just sort of emphasizes that difference between electric scooters, or sorry, the motorized scooters and the e-rideables. A lot of people are sort of unfamiliar with the difference, and it is important we are sort of looking at that before purchasing these products as well. So main thing to get out of this slide is to just do your research before purchasing these products and having a look at that Road Safety Commission website as well. Now, trampolines, again, very, very common sort of toy to buy during this period. Again, really great for kids, really great to get them out there playing and exploring. But again, we do want to make sure we are using them correctly. We do unfortunately know a lot of children are taken to hospital every year because of trampoline-related injuries. And oftentimes those include sort of those sprains, strains, potentially even a fracture or a broken bone. So if you are gifting one for Christmas, really important you do follow the manufacturer's instructions, making sure we are building them nice and safely and sturdy. And important for kids just to set those rules, one person at a time, making sure kids are jumping off the trampoline. Now, I know this is probably easier said than done, but if you can, just sort of try and reinforce those rules with your little ones as well. And that supervision, I can't state it enough how important that supervision is for little ones. Just making sure you're there if anything does sort of happen. Regularly also checking the trampoline and padding just for that any signs of wear and tear. If anything may be rusty, obviously that can be a hazard as well. So just again, making sure we are looking at all aspects of the trampoline. Again, that QR code is there. It does link to the ACCC website with more information about trampolines and trampoline safety also. Now, we do have a slide, as I mentioned, on some topical toys. So some things that have popped up and things for you to sort of focus on if you are purchasing these products leading up to this holiday period, or even if you are working within this space, just certain toys to sort of look out for as well. So high-powered magnets, these small high-powered magnets, they can be absolutely tiny, and they can be in quite a few toys. So it is important to know there is actually a ban in place regarding small high-powered magnets. These can be particularly dangerous if children swallow more than one of these magnets. They can sort of all start to join together internally and can damage the inside of the child's intestine or digestive tissue, which can, lead to quite serious internal damages. So again, these can pose quite a serious risk, and even from that choking perspective as well. So this is something I would definitely have a little look at, any toys you do have in your space. And you can do more research onto this, so just have a little look online. There will be more information about the ban specifically. But as I said, it can be of concern for sort of kids ingesting these products. So again, definitely something to look out for. As we mentioned earlier, those e-scooters and motorized scooters. So if you are gifting these products, making sure you do know the difference, and really just doing your research and asking questions before purchasing those products. Water beads. So again, these have popped up quite a lot. I've had a lot of questions about these in my parenting workshops. So it is something that is popping up out there. And these are sort of these small, colourful beads that can be quite attractive to young children. Oftentimes they may place them in their mouth, and again, that can be that choking hazard for little ones. So we do know that when swallowed or even put inside the ears or nose, they can expand, which can cause intestinal obstruction, even vomiting, severe discomfort, or even dehydration in a child. So it can be quite serious, and it may have to be surgically removed as well. This can sort of, lead to lifelong injuries as well. So again, definitely something to be wary of. Again, with these products, making sure you're looking for the age recommendation label. So these toys specifically are not recommended for children under 3 years of age. So that is something to keep in mind. And also, a lot of these products are marketed to be sort of sensory learning toys for children. But again, if that is the case, just making sure they are used appropriately. Again, if it's something of concern, just keep them out of children's reach. And if you do think a child has swallowed anything, definitely seeking medical attention as well. And kids learn by touching and feeling, and a lot of times they will put things in their mouth. But this is sort of something that we do want to make sure is kept away from little ones. And portable swimming pools as well. This is a very common Christmas present for young children. And if you are purchasing these products, it is really important to know your responsibilities as a pool owner. So inflatable and portable pools can be quite dangerous if they aren't properly fenced and if they're also not emptied after each use. So we do know, unfortunately, all it takes, it can take just a couple of centimeters for a child to drown, and it can be silent. So, parents may think it might be this huge bang and crash. They might hear a lot of noise, but sometimes it can be silent. So it is important that pool safety and water safety is taken very seriously. Again, important to know that pool fencing laws do apply to pools, including portable pools that are 300 millimeters depth or more. So definitely something to consider. That may not be advertised when you are purchasing these products, but it is important to know. Again, really that supervision is important. And there are mandatory standards involved with these products as well. So again, that ACCC website will have a lot of information if these products are used. Again, sort of those simple safety things, just making sure it is emptied after each use. There is an adult supervising at all times. And also be mindful of the weather. So maybe it's raining outside and you do have a pool outside. It can fill up quite quickly. So sort of making sure it is stored correctly as well. Important to note, something that has also popped up recently is coloured sand. So you may have seen a recall online for particular brands of coloured toy sand with an associated asbestos risk. So if you have purchased these products or do have them at home or in your centre, please do have a look on the ACCC website. So that website will identify exactly what brands have been recalled, and it will walk you through the steps of what to do if that product has been recalled as well. So quickly looking at secondhand toys. Secondhand toys can be a really great way to give new life to pre-loved toys, but it really is important that we are ensuring those products are safe. So again, just inspecting the toy, sort of the things we talked about earlier. So if there are batteries involved, making sure the closure at the back can be securely tightened, making sure there's no rusted or loose or small parts, really just making sure you're having a good look there. Just doing your research again, so checking online if there are any recalls involved in that product. And again, just doing a bit of research on that product earlier. Also reading the labels, so there may be a mandatory standard involved, or there may be some of those safety labels. So just checking the product for any of those labels and sort of following those steps if needed as well. Battery safety, I spoke about. If there's batteries involved, making sure you can secure the back nice and tight. And another little point is just making sure it is nice and clean and you can sanitize it before use as well. So Again, the QR code there does lead to that ACCC website that does have quite a bit of information on secondhand toys. And if you are purchasing anything online that is secondhand, there are steps there that you can walk through as well. And also looking at toy storage today. So toy boxes and toy chests are common products used, but unfortunately there have been injuries and even deaths associated with toy box lids falling on a child's neck or even their head. And there have unfortunately been cases where children have been trapped inside toy boxes and have suffocated. And when looking at those injuries, children up to the age of 2 are most at risk, as they have the strength to lift the lid, but it can still fall sort of back on them, can fall back on their heads, their fingers, and children just may not have the knowledge or the ability to get themselves out of that unsafe situation. So it is important we're doing sort of everything we can here. Unfortunately, the bad news is there are no mandatory standards involved with toy boxes, but there are points that you can follow just to making sure if you are purchasing these products, they are as safe as possible. So if you are purchasing a toy box, just making sure it comes without a lid or the lid is removable. Really making sure that lid is as lightweight as possible just does prevent those injuries or entrapment inside that box. Also making sure it has stoppers on the inside of the lid that can make a gap of 1.5 centimeters or more when that lid is closed. So this does stop the lid from crushing fingers and allows a trapped child to breathe. So again, prevents sort of that lid from closing all of the way. If that toy box does have a lock, ensuring that the box can be opened from the inside by a child. If a child accidentally gets trapped in there, we do want them to be able to get out as easily as possible. And also making sure the toy box has ventilation holes to stop suffocation if a child does become trapped in that space. Also consider buying a lightweight plastic crate. That can be another option, as it is safer than that heavy toy box and that heavy lid as well. There are quite a few options on the market and different ways that you can store those products. Also, something important to consider if you are buying toy storage, anything that has drawers or those sort of removable plastic bins, making sure that that heavy furniture is secured to the wall. What we have seen is children will pull out those drawers, climb inside and sort of try and reach something up nice and high. And there can sort of be that weight imbalance and that whole sort of storage facility can sort of tip and fall onto the child. So anything heavy, any heavy furniture, any heavy storage, making sure it is secured to the wall. You can drill it into the wall, or you can buy those straps that do strap that heavy furniture to the wall as well. If you are in a rental, there are laws in place to protect renters if you do need to secure anything to your wall. I always like to say, just have a chat with your landlord, but legally you do have rights and you are able to secure those things to the wall as well. So that is my sort of overview today. As I said before, we don't want you to go through your homes and get rid of every single toy. It is more so the point of this webinar is to just go home or go to your centre and just reflect, have a look through some of those toys that you do have and just making sure they are appropriate for your children, and being mindful if you are purchasing any toys in the future. Also, something to be mindful of is purchasing from places such as, Shein, Temu, those cheaper sort of websites, and just being mindful that those toys may not meet those mandatory standards as well. Just an overview of some of our facilities here at Kidsafe. So we do have a safety demonstration home. So if you do have young children and you are starting to baby-proof, you can come through to our home and it sort of mimics a typical family home, and we'll walk through some certain safety features that you could potentially add into your home. We also have a child car restraint service. So we do fit car seats, we check car seats, we have an advice service, and we also hire car seats as well. So if you just need a seat for a short-term period, we can help with that as well. Playgrounds, we do come out to quite a lot of playgrounds and just check that they are meeting the correct sort of standards that they need to. And we do quite a lot of training in that space as well. And also workshops. So we do come out to quite a lot of organisations and chat more about safety. We go out to parent groups, that sort of thing. So lots of options. If you do have any other questions from today, please do feel free to email us through and we can answer anything. But to wrap up today, going forward, I highly suggest doing an audit of the toys in your home or your childcare centre. As I said, just have a little look around and sort of see if anything sticks out. Definitely researching your products before purchasing. And also including having a look for any mandatory standards. So if you are purchasing those products, making sure they are nice and safe. Also saving that poisons information line number to your phone. It really does just give parents and caregivers that peace of mind. If little one does pop something in their mouth, you can give them a call and they are more than happy to help. We do have a range of resources on our website and we also have an Instagram page as well. So you can reach out to us there and we are more than happy to help as well. Any questions, please do feel free to add them. We'd really appreciate your feedback as well on any ways that we can improve. But I'll hang out here if you have any questions. And thank you again for joining me this morning.